Welcome to the Newtown Big Dreams podcast, an interview-style talk show that's your gateway to the fabulous and fascinating people who relocated to start a new life. Whether you're new to our podcast or your city, our fellow neighbors from across Canada, North America, and the entire English-speaking world share their stories of reaching new horizons and big dreams. So sit back and relax as we navigate in-depth and intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives, creatives, and anyone who can share their story about their Newtown big dreams. And now, here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
So Megan, you came to Kelowna in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us the story of how you got here.
Well, I knew in grade 10 that I was going to come to Kelowna for university. Mm-hmm. I had this gut feeling that I didn't want to go to UBC Vancouver. I used to live in Port Coquitlam. That's where I grew up. And then I just knew that I was coming to Kelowna. I had never been here before, but I saw one picture and I was like, yeah, that's where I'm going to spend a solid amount of time. Yeah.
So did you research or do any investigation, or you just pack your bags and come?
I pretty much just applied. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
then I got
accepted. And then,
yeah. Because in 2009, UBCO was not as big. So it was people were still heavily applying to UBC Vancouver. Yeah. So applying to UBCO was perfect. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I came up here with my sister and two best friends and haven't looked back since.
You graduated.
I did. Yeah.
And what year was that?
2014. Gosh, it feels so long ago.
Tell us, I used to do delivery business, like food and stuff. So I've been to the campus many, many times. I think I took a real estate course there.
Okay.
One time. I can't recall. But I've been there dozens of times, and it's amazing how much it's changed. Did you see a big change between 2009 and 2014?
Oh, yeah. It grew exponentially very quickly.
Yeah.
When I got there, the campus was relatively small still, and you could get away with a lot of partying.
Right.
Still, just for that 1 year. And then they cracked down after that, which I remember very, very well.
Interesting.
People were very confused.
Those days are kind of a long time ago for me, but
so long ago for me too, it feels.
But how would they crack down? I'm curious.
They just made sure partying wasn't allowed in the residences anymore to a certain extent, and they weren't hosting parties. They stopped doing their annual parties that they were very well known for.
Oh, I see.
For the years prior. Yeah.
So if you wanted to drink, it was a couple of friends, very quiet.
It was kind of like high school all over again.
Yeah, you got to sneak around.
Yeah, or go downtown if you were 19.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. I loved it there, though. It's a great community, and I think that was my first experience with a Kelowna community. It was on campus, but the community was so strong, and everyone kind of knew each other, and I really liked that feeling.
What did you take for your major?
Psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, I did an honors degree in psych.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was a huge nerd.
So an honors degree is 4 years, is that correct?
Yeah.
And a regular degree is 3 years.
A regular degree is 4. I took 5 because I was also working on campus and out in the community too. So I only wanted to do 4 classes a year or a semester instead of 5 because that was just too much and I really wanted good grades. So, yeah.
And at what point between 2009 and 2014 did you decide I'm going to stay here? Even after I graduate, I'm staying in Kelowna.
So my first 2 years I lived on campus, and then this third year I moved down to Sunset Drive. So those big tall yellow buildings right in the center. They did from September to April, they did off-season rentals.
Right.
So the university students were the first ones in, which they didn't realize was going to be a thing. They regretted it after, but because it became an off-campus residence by accident.
I see.
A
lot of parties.
A lot of partying down there because you're downtown, you're legal, and you aren't really responsible for too much still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's the landlords take care of everything. So you're kind of just a lot of freedom. But I didn't party that much. I just lived downtown and I was right in the center of it all and on the water, on the lake, which is my parents were just how the heck is this your life?
Yeah.
Because it is hard to get on waterfront property. So to be able to do that as a university student was ridiculous and insane. And that was my first taste of the Kelowna community and getting to know the local scene and realizing how local was so supportive.
Yeah.
Like, people supported local businesses like crazy. And that's
So
all
true.
it was down there. Yeah.
I noticed that too when I moved in 2011. That area was really touristy. So after Labor Day, it was kind of a ghost town, except for some university students that would take up residence. Now it's there are still seasonal rentals, of course. There's a lot of people that live there full time.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Waterscapes complex, for example, was very tourist oriented when I moved here, and now it's like 95% full time people.
Yeah, it's fully taken.
Yeah, so the city has really changed.
It has. Yeah, I don't think they definitely cracked down on letting students into the buildings too around 2013.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the
if you were
landlord.
good, they'd keep you. If
Right.
you were bad, and most of the boys weren't allowed to stay.
Right.
Boys would like mess up the condos and then leave because you'd put 5 boys in one like 4-bedroom apartment. Like,
Their
it's a mess.
sense of hygiene is maybe a little bit lacking.
Yeah, I
at that
had
age,
a few friends that would, and I walked in, I was like, this is not okay.
Right. So, tell us about BNL. What is BNL?
BNL Media is a social media management / consulting agency, I guess. It is something that was inspired by the love of local and the Kelowna community and just seeing how connected people were. I was introduced to, social media has always been a part of my life. Facebook started in 2007. I remember when my friend from Toronto came and was like, you got to get on Facebook. And we were all on MySpace and Sopia. We were like, why would we go on Facebook? I remember like being resistant for at least 6 months, and then it became a thing. And then Instagram came along, and nothing else mattered except Facebook and Instagram. And but I never fully understood the power it had for businesses until I went traveling and was using my Instagram account to connect with local businesses not in my country.
I see.
And saw how powerful that was to see what the locals were doing, and all the other tourists that would go to Thailand, what would they do and where would they go? And that's kind of where that connection started to piece together.
I see. Yeah. So are you saying you would travel and you would find recommendations for places to go? Things to see
on Instagram.
Because of Instagram?
Yeah, through the hashtags.
Yeah, okay. So tell us, for those who don't know, how does that work exactly? So if I'm traveling to Italy and I'm in Rome and I'm looking for a good spaghetti house, for example. Yeah. How am I going to find it?
I bet if you typed Rome foodie or Rome travel, or even just type in Rome, hashtag Rome, and go into that niche a little bit and just start digging. So you'll start to see what hashtags they're using in Italy. Are they using English hashtags or are they not? Like, you don't know. So you have to kind of see what that local scene is doing. For me, like, I went traveling to Thailand and I went to Koh Phangan Island. So I just typed in that hashtag, and then it's a relatively small island, but a lot of people travel there. So it was small enough that I could see kind of what everything it had to offer, because people are only taking pictures of the cool stuff on the island. So that's kind of how the investigating goes on there. And then I went traveling to Toronto and I found the best coffee. Hashtag Toronto coffee. Everyone was taking pictures of this yellow cup. So I was like, okay, got to find out where this yellow cup is. And it was Jimmy's Coffee. Best coffee I've ever had.
Where is that?
It's in Toronto.
I'm from Toronto. So.
Oh, they have like 4 locations. I don't know, but it's like right in the hub. But they definitely built their cups for the gram.
Wow.
Because you want to take a picture of it. Because it's so cool. And no one has yellow lids.
I think Instagram is so great when it comes to marketing. So how do you help businesses on the other side to get promoted?
Yeah. So I really focus on the organic community building. So basically connecting Kelowna to these businesses by going through the hashtags and going through the locations and engaging with the Kelowna community. If I'm working in Kelowna, if I have clients in Revelstoke, so I will go through Revelstoke and start engaging with that community. The cool thing is you're dealing with not only locals on the Instagram, but you're dealing with a lot of tourists, because tourists are taking a lot of photos too. So if you're active and that tourist is like hanging out for a week and you've liked one of their photos, in like the first couple days they've been there, they'll probably check out the Instagram and then the profile, and then maybe decide to go there for dinner.
Our cat is, he's being a little bit assertive.
Just wanting to hang out with us.
Yeah. So he's very sweet, but just trying to get our attention.
Yeah, so Instagram's quite a powerful place to not only connect businesses with people in their community, but also to connect businesses with other businesses and just let that support go even further.
Right. So you, I guess you're doing a lot of research and then you're setting up a program for your clients. Is that basically it?
Like I'll go in and do some market research. I mean, Kelowna, I know this community probably more so than I want to sometimes, especially with just seeing everything that's going on social media, but it's great.
How do you mean?
Sometimes I'll go through a hashtag and I'll find a business that's like, I found an underground, I don't know if I can say this, but I think I found an underground strip club somewhere in Kelowna. They had an Instagram account and I was like, ooh, interesting. I didn't want to know that was there. Right. I don't think this should be on Instagram. It was just a basement. There was no people in it, but it looked like there were poles and stuff. And I was kind of confused.
A little weird.
Oh, a little weird. Yeah.
So no license and
I don't know. I didn't follow them. I just kind of let it be. But yeah, and there's just, you learn some stuff that you're just, some things are more private than others, and you're just like, maybe I don't want to get into know that, but
right, yeah,
people are super open on.
Well, I always say people shouldn't post too much private business on social media. I mean, I don't know why people do that. You know, I actually even got away from posting pictures of my kids and stuff just because when I used to work at radio, and then I was running a club in Nelson, BC, and I accumulated over 4,000 so-called friends, right? So they don't need to see my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My really close friends and relatives, you can just text a photograph to someone or have a private accounts on Instagram. So I just post business things or, maybe a joke or things like that on Facebook.
Yeah.
But so, for example, let's take my podcast as an example. What could you do to help me grow the audience or make people aware of it so they can check it out? And a lot of people that listen, they subscribe to it because they find it pretty cool. And there's so many interesting people in our city that are coming on the show. So a lot of times people see it on Instagram. What is a way that I could expand the audience, or how could you help me to expand?
Right. Do you have a profile on Instagram?
Yeah. It's a personal profile.
Okay. So it's not a business profile.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I would recommend creating a business profile called I Love Kelowna.
Right.
Or if that's already taken, which it could potentially be taken, you could do I Love Kelowna podcast.
As soon as we're done here.
Yeah. Even if if you were to do I Love Kelowna podcast, it makes it super clear what you do and people will know. People will know. Because your profile is a business to business more so, I would recommend telling the stories, a little bit of the story of the podcast, maybe with a hook, listen, to learn more about this.
Right.
Listen to learn more about the secret stuff Megan's found on Instagram. Go to click my link in bio. But it's more just you kind of share the story. You can use it as a marketing platform for everyone that comes on. So you can take their business and then they'll probably retag you and they'll share their experience on their social media because everyone needs content. Exactly. Everyone wants content. Everyone wants to tag everyone else. And it's just something that I would use your platform as a business and just showcase all the different people that you're bringing on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've been doing quite a lot of that. So would you, as a service, take over the management of that for a client?
Right. Yeah. So I would do is the writing. Right. I would do the writing. I would make sure that all the hashtags are kind of set for your niche. Which can be very locally based, but also trying to get the bigger podcast world involved. There's a community for everything on social media, especially on Instagram, and every community falls under a hashtag. So that is something that I build with my clients and help drive that engagement, which makes sure that they're seen more because there's that algorithm that you got to play with. And So what I would do, like, I really love the writing and the community engagement and almost like, I guess it's customer service, but it doesn't feel like it. It's more just engaging with people. Like if someone were to slide into the direct message and say, hey, how do I get involved with this podcast? I would just tell them where they need to go email and tell them what to send, and bam, like it's done.
Perfect.
And I'm always checking the feed once a day, and a lot of business owners just don't have time to like sit down and go on their social media. And I get that pain. So like I even experience it on my own social media. So it's hard to separate yourself, like your personal feelings about your business, and to see your business from how the customers perceive it. So when I come in, I just see the business of how I love it as a customer. And then I speak to the customer rather than speaking about the business.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And there's a lot of heart in the writing and the emotion. It's just something that I used to not be able to do, because undergrad, like your university degree, like kicks all the emotion out of your writing. But then I started a blog after a traveling experience that I had. And that's when I learned about the power of emotional writing. Yeah. Super helpful.
Well, I have talked to a few marketers that do have a background in psychology. And I'm wondering if you think that what you learned in university has helped you, at least, understand the way people think and the way people react.
Yeah, I think for me, like a psychology degree helped me realize that everyone is different. But we all want to be seen, and we all want to be heard, and we all want to have a voice. And your social media platform as a business gives the opportunity for your customers to be seen, heard, and have a voice and connect with you as a business.
Right.
I really like my honors degree. I haven't done my master's yet.
Right.
My honors degree was I was working with Dr. Susan Holtzman, and we were looking at the impact text messaging or digital communication has on relationship building. And that was kind of, in hindsight, probably my fascination with the power of the digital world to create relationships with people. Yeah.
Well, on that note, would you agree that it's really important for people that face-to-face contact too?
It is. Face-to-face is always extremely important, and social media just kind of gets people through the door.
Yeah. As a facilitator to bring people together, check out this cool coffee shop. Right. There's humans there.
There is.
Right.
So you got to show the humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important on the feed, is to celebrate the humans behind the business. A lot of people forget that. And I always have to really empower my business owners to be like, you have to show up once in a while because they love you.
Right.
And when and I have the data to prove it, like as soon as we post one of my clients and I'm like, look, you got 200 likes on this photo and we typically get around 100. But when your face is in it, we get 200. What does this mean?
Wow.
It means people love you. But it's all about you want to be seen and be the front, but you also, for people that are brand new coming to your feed for the first time, you want them to understand everything about your business in 9 posts or less. You want them to land on, I hate landing on a feed, and I'm like, but what do they do?
Yeah. There's quite a few like that.
Yeah. So you got to make sure that there's balance. So your face, the business owner always loves to be seen and loves to be heard. Right. People want to hear. They hate being on camera. They're like, I don't want to do it. Don't make me.
Often, yeah.
Yeah. But with time, and you get that validation and that reinforcement, and then it kind of becomes easier for some of my clients, and some are just never going to do it, and it's fine. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. When you do, you do. When you don't, I'll make it work.
Right.
So you can only do so much, and I never want to force people to go and be uncomfortable, because if they're uncomfortable, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
How often should a business or a solo entrepreneur running a business by themselves, how often should they be posting, or have you posting on their behalf?
I always recommend 3 to 5.
3 to 5 a day?
No, not a day. 3 to 5 a week.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 to 5 posts a week. Super manageable. It's not over the top. And you're showing up a couple times a week just to it's brand awareness.
Right.
When someone, they may not even read the post, they may just see the photo, but they know it's your brand, and it's it just triggers something. It's like commercial.
Right.
Because people do scroll a lot faster than they used to because there's just so much content to kind of ingest. Mm-hmm. And I find myself doing that too. Like I'll always think of brands when I'm following, but I don't read them all.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so much.
There's so much content. People are listening to podcasts. They're reading books, especially entrepreneurs. And we're watching TV shows. Like there's just so much content that it's overwhelming now.
Totally.
So the key is to produce great content, and then people are going to stop and read. Mm-hmm. But if they don't and they see a photo that is reminded of your brand, then that's good enough too.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I follow as a realtor and as a salesman. I follow some salesmen and saleswomen and real estate agents. Do you do the same with marketers? Are there any feeds like in the States or anything like that you think is really cool and that you follow?
I normally go on and off. I have a hard time following people on social media now, which I think is so funny. But it's the content issue. I'm more for educational purposes. I typically subscribe to some email marketing. So I always get an email and then I can see what they're talking about. Normally what I get through email, it's going to come out on their feed anyway. Yeah. But just without getting so convoluted in their Instagram stories and stuff, because social media marketers are they're pretty good at their social media. They're pretty active. But I do know that a lot of people subscribe to Gary Vaynerchuk, religiously. He's a little intense for me. Yeah.
I can take him in small doses and on occasion.
But he produces so much content, so I'm unable to follow him. But if I do want to see what's going on in his world, I'll always go to his page.
Right.
And Subi Zimmerman and Jen's Trends, those two are very Instagram focused.
How do you spell Subi?
Sue, and then her middle name is B, and
Subi.
then Zimmerman.
Right.
Yeah, and her Instagram, she's always on it for any updates. She's on it. I would say she was like my teacher. I didn't meet her ever, and I didn't buy too much from her, but I downloaded her free PDFs, and I just kind of understood her perspective, and it made sense to me.
Yeah.
Her perspective of Instagram.
I think that's great. I mean, I try to have virtual mentors, and there's people I can point to that, have influenced me. I've never met them. I've never bought a product necessarily. Right. But, Gary P is one of them. I don't spend a lot of time because, like you said, it's a lot. Yeah. And he's very intense. But once in a while, if I need some motivation, he's just a brilliant salesperson, and he's really a little bit hyperactive. So if I need to, get myself pumped up a little bit, he's great.
He is.
And Subi Zimmerman, and who was the second one you mentioned?
Her name's, her marketing name is Jen's Trends.
Jen's Trends.
GENNS. Oh, sorry, J.
Right. Jen's Trends.
Yeah, and so she keeps up on the social media trends all the time.
Cool.
So those two, I really like their energy, and they are all about organic engagement, and they don't buy the bots. They don't do the buying. You can buy bots, you can buy likes, you can buy followers, you can buy views, you can buy comments. You can buy a completely fake successful Instagram account if you want for probably $1,000.
Yeah. Now, why is that a wrong thing to do? I don't want but tell our audience why that's a dumb idea.
It's you're investing in something that is a fraud. So if your business is not actually that successful, but you start to portray it like that, it's kind of like false marketing, false advertising.
Yeah.
But I get it. I had a client that did buy followers, and then I came in and I was like, okay, now we have to get the engagement up.
Right.
To
if nobody's interacting, it's probably
you're
fake.
Still not driving sales. Right. You're even if, but the sad thing is it does help drive sales faster.
I see.
Even though the following isn't real. Right. Because the majority of the world just sees a number. They aren't looking at what marketers are looking at. It's I can spot a fake account from a mile away, but most people can't.
Right.
So it's really just But in Kelowna, if you're a local coffee shop or something and you have over 10,000 followers, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
It makes sense in Toronto because the population's so big.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense in Kelowna when like 10,000 followers and like, it's just, there's no local businesses that I would ever say, like, unless you're online and you're trying to go worldwide or Canada-wide or North America, it's not really necessary.
Right.
But it can be necessary if you're wanting to be like a digital online space.
Right. And when you say organic engagement, in contrast, what is organic engagement?
So organic means like someone scrolling their feed and they're liking it because they like it.
Right.
So it's not, you're not driving bots to it. Right. Hashtags will always drive fake accounts, or not fake accounts, but people that have bots. And that's great because you get more likes and you get more engagement, and then the algorithm will help your organic people see it more.
Right. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to promoting business on social media?
They forget about the writing, which is the biggest connection piece to the customers. So they'll have a beautiful photo. The photo is fantastic. But then the writing is just like one sentence. And it's not, I always say, like, don't be afraid to promote your business in like a genuine way. There's a lot of people that I follow that are like, that always are talking to entrepreneurs. Like, don't be afraid to sell yourself. Right. Like, share with people who are following you what you do, because they may be a referral. And I would say a lot of my following are referrals to clients that need my assistance. Because most of the time, clients that need my assistance don't have time for social media, so they're not on it. Or they're on it, but on a very small level. Yeah. And mostly personal. Because a lot of business accounts, like, they'll post and they'll do the things, but they're not out engaging because they don't have time. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have a set rate for people, or does it depend on the business and it's customized?
It's really customized to the business and the budget that they have. I find that I have a template that I'll send out to people, but normally with a smaller business, they're like, I just can't afford that. What can we do for this? And then I'll make one for that if I feel like it's a good fit. So I'm at a point in my business where I'm really, like, my business has grown with clients that have been, I call them a soul fit. It's not a niche. Like, I don't specialize in a niche whatsoever. I've worked with so many niches. It's crazy. But it's more of like, are they involved in the community? Do they love Kelowna? Like, or do they love the city that they're working in? How do they talk about their clients or their customers?
I see.
And like, do they love what they're doing? And if me and the client get along really well, then it's a good fit, and it's just the relationship is there and the trust is there. Because if there's not a soul fit, the writing doesn't come across properly.
Yeah, it's hard to write something authentic when you don't believe in.
When I don't believe in what they're doing and they don't believe in what I do. Yeah. That's the thing too. It's like, what am I paying you for? Like, is this really helpful? And it's like, well, it's a hard thing to prove. But I do know that I've had clients for a long time now, so something's working. And we all value each other's relationships, and we are doing something right. And normally I know it's working sometimes I know it's working when I make a mistake, because then someone comes and is like, oh, I saw this on social media. And it's like, oh, we should have talked about that. That's no longer a thing. And then because the communication with the client. But then we know that the social media is working because someone comes in and is like, oh, I saw this. So most people don't say they saw things on social media. They just come in because they saw it. Right. I always try to when I see a business owner. I'm like, oh, I saw this sale on social media, because I know that it helps them know that it's working. For sure. But yeah, it's an interesting space to measure. Right. Because Instagram doesn't allow you to measure. You can't measure a walk-in. How do you know that walk-in came from social media? First. Yeah, and it can be a little intrusive if you ask every single person that comes in, how did you hear about us? Especially if it's something like volume, like coffee. Yeah. For example. Yeah. Yeah. But I try to ask clients, because like I do 5 deals a month, I'm doing incredibly well. You know what I mean? So you do have time to have a more lengthy conversation. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I always ask my clients how they found me. When I get a Google, I'm like, yes,
Nice. So use Google AdWords or?
I don't use Google AdWords. I do have a website that I just recently launched a new one. Mm-hmm. And as soon as the new one was launched, things started to shift. So I have a girl on my team, her name's Nikki, and she does websites. So she does help business owners for a reasonable price to do websites, because I've had a hard time referring, because people always come to me and they're like, well, do you do websites too? And I've had to say no for the last year and a half. And then I found Nikki. Now I can say yes, because she did mine and I know how she works. And I've seen that it shows up on Google. So I'm like, okay, someone from Vancouver found me on Google and they weren't looking for the Okanagan. So that's got to do something.
Yeah.
I must be doing something.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it mostly word of mouth that you use your own marketing or Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. I mean, my Instagram game, it's pretty strong, but I would have to say that my business has grown from the amount of opportunities I've had to work in the community. When I went to school, I worked on campus mostly as like a TA and a research assistant and stuff. But then I worked at Good Life for a while. So I met a lot of, was in the fitness industry for a bit. That was my first introduction to Instagram, because the fitness industry was the first one on Instagram heavily. Right. And I met so many people through there because I was the front desk. So I met a lot of members of the community. Then I worked at the yacht club, and I worked with the YMCA, and I coached with the Ogopogo swim club. Wow. So like community was everything for me. And I was never that involved in my community back home in Port Coquitlam, which is funny. I was a lifeguard and a swim coach, but like I kind of stayed in my little hub. Whereas in Kelowna, I was just out there working like 4 or 5 jobs, meeting so many people. And that's the key. People are like, well, I want my Instagram to drive business for my business. And I'm like, well, are you out like engaging with your people? Do people know you when they sit down at a coffee shop and someone else is talking about you? And that for me is more valuable than anything. And I have some friends that are like, oh, I was hanging out with a couple girls last night and we were talking about social media, because a lot of people talk about social media a lot. And then your name came up and they're like, they were all talking about how they follow you on Instagram. And I was like, oh, like you don't know who's following you, but it's great. And that's why I've like decided, now that I've kind of had a role on my business, I've decided to move back into Kelowna in an office space downtown to kind of be present again. Once people started telling me that the community is like following me on Instagram, I'm like, well, I want to know who these people are in person. Yeah. Client or not. Right. Client or not. Yeah.
Having an office is great because it forces you to get out of the house. And, right? You live in Peachland.
I do. I live on the lake in Peachland, and it's beautiful. Lovely. It's amazing. Peachland is just so stunning. And I love it. And it's a safe, like it's a home away from home. And then coming into Kelowna's always been work related for me. So, and I love being here because every time I'm here, I run into someone I know. But there are times when you don't want to run into someone you know, and that's Peachland.
Right. And that's why you have the dark shades, too, I'm guessing. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, I do love this city so much, and I'm so grateful for how much support I've had as a small business, just kind of rolling with it. I worked in the tech industry for 8 months, and that's where I would attribute most of my marketing knowledge to.
Oh, great.
And they were amazing. And the owner of that, I am so honored to have been mentored by him when I was. He pushed me outside my comfort zone.
Can you tell us who it is?
Yeah, Jason from Straw House.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've met him yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, you should. Great. Yeah, he's a good guy and he knows so much. And he kind of just hired me on a whim and forced me to kind of make a space for myself in that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is he who you would like to nominate?
I could nominate Jason.
Great.
Yeah.
And you can nominate more than one person.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I would nominate Jason.
What's his last name?
He's going to kill me. Kuriski, I think.
Kuriski?
I can't spell it right now.
All right. No problem.
Yeah. But you'll find
Straw House.
Straw House. Yeah. He owns a couple companies now. So, but Straw House was just Straw House when I was working with them.
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I would say Brett Alton. He's a really good videographer here in town, and he's new to Kelowna, but when he came here, I told him, you got to meet the community. They're amazing. And he's really immersed himself and started building a community, and him and I are sharing an office space together downtown on Bernard. And
Right.
we're creating a cool creative studio space for
Very
creatives to come and collaborate with us. So
Very nice.
yeah.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but part of what I do on this show is I pick your brain to get like free knowledge. So I'm becoming, a semi-expert on all these topics.
Of course, yeah.
Jason and Brett both sound like fascinating people to talk to. And I'm sure I could learn a lot.
Yes.
And our listeners could learn a lot too.
Yeah, they definitely could. Yeah, they're both very inspiring individuals and really good at what they do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Megan, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Newtown Big Dreams podcast with your host, Luke Menkes, and his authentic guests. And we love our listeners and hope you subscribe now to learn more about the amazing journeys of our incredible guests who relocated to find a new town, big dreams. And remember, make your dreams big.